Hello friends. Life is cyclical. Day turns to night and back to day again. Your favorite YouTuber takes a 6-month break and then comes back for the daily content. And Shadow Priest as well. It's hope, then cope. At the moment we're here, but there's a problem. This part is missing. I know I've been away for a little while now, but even though I haven't been posting any content, I have been playing the game quite a lot. I got my 2400 in both NA and EU, playing full mastery and full crit. More on that in a future video where I share my discoveries. I also slayed Dimensius and saved the world, and the Purple Lady, I think. And for the first time I got 3000 rating in Mythic Plus, and I did it organic with just LFG, no bennies whatsoever. And I've been also playing the Midnight Alpha and now the Beta. So today I wanted to talk about the good, the bad and the ugly for the upcoming Midnight expansion, specifically for Shadow Priest. And I'm gonna start off with the good. I'm not gonna lie, initially I kinda was dooming about Shadow Priest. A lot of the changes on paper seemed really detrimental and kinda like the end of the world. But then I got to play it a little bit more on the beta, and at least for Voidweaver, it's not that bad. And the overall design goal, I believe for the whole expansion, of making the game more accessible to new players, remove some of the excess bloat on classes, and also remove the soft requirements for some in-game content, I think that's a great thing. That's a good design direction. What I mean by soft requirements is add-ons. Now, I know that's a big topic, and I don't know how hot of a take it is, but I 100% support the removal of add-ons. I'm getting affected big time by this. Let me say that. I love making Recoras. My UI is a spaceship, and it's gonna hit me hard. It's gonna take a while to get used to. I'm pissed that I'm losing all that. But for the sake of the game, good move. Now, simply removing all of add-ons, probably not a great idea in a vacuum. Blizzard needs to do something to support some of the functionality that the add-ons were providing. And I know they're doing some of it. Now, we just gotta trust Blizzard to give us enough tools to not rely on add-ons. At least for the most part. Now, to go through some Shadow Priest specific changes that I think are good. Some of them are going to be a bit hot takes, some of them maybe not so much. Let's start off with Dark Ascension being gone. Dark Ascension is no more. It's only Void form, and I am all for it. Having it be a choice node kind of limits the design of Priest into, well, Dark Ascension only affects direct damage, and Void form doesn't do anything for direct damage. It's kind of like a weird cooldown where, oh, if you're Archon, you only play Void form, and if you're Voidweaver, you only play Dark Ascension. So then kind of what's the point of the choice? I'm good with having the choice be Voidweaver versus Archon, and I'm happy with Void form being the main cooldown. When I get to the bad part, Void form is gonna be number one. Void form sucks. But not having to pick between Void form and something else, I think that's a good idea. Similarly, Halo and Void Torrent being exclusive to Archon and Voidweaver, I think that's also a really good move. Halo for Voidweaver and Void Torrent for Archon felt like bloat. I didn't know when to press Halo, and Void Torrent was just the means to get a little bit of insanity so I can press my Devouring Plague. Another hot take might be Mindflay Insanity. I'm glad it's gone. It makes sense to keep it for Archon because the whole loop revolves around that, but for Voidweaver it was just too much. Shadow Priest just has a billion small chipping damage abilities. There's nothing big, massive, and that chunks. When you play Voidweaver, your damage is just Void Blast and Psychic Link. When you play Archon, your damage was just Mindflay Insanity and Psychic Link. And that's the tuning. This is the tuning we always got. And beyond that, you have these million other spells that don't really do anything, but you just gotta press them. They're all equally insignificant. When everything competes for your attention, then just there's nothing that really matters. And big hot take, I think it's the same case for Voidbolt. I'm glad Voidbolt is gone. Now, Voidbolt being gone creates a big problem for AoE, which we'll get to, but essentially Voidbolt was very useful to refresh the dots in AoE, but just pressing the button every 2 globals, I feel like that was a bit too much. Another one is Devouring Plague. I've seen people be pissed that it's now a magic effect and no longer a disease, and people's argument why it should stay as a disease is that it created this kind of soft counter to some healers, which could not dispel disease. Counter argument, at higher rating you've had a bunch of DPS classes dispelling your Devouring Plague, like Shadow Priests, Windwalker Monks, Paladins. I do think that the spec needs way better dispel protection, but I'm glad it's a magic effect, as it should be. Healers should just insta-dispel it, and the DPS classes should not be able to. And then finally, I'm really happy about this one. Void Shift. Holy, finally. I've been asking for this for so long. It just sucks to sit on your trinket for 10 minutes because you never know when you're gonna need to trinket swap. And you know what? When you finally trinket Void Shift, either you Void Shift the wrong target or you're playing with another priest and you swap each other, and even when you get a good value Void Shift, you still lose the game. It feels like it doesn't even matter. Now, as a little side note, I will say that losing Void Shift and losing our stun and losing Devouring Plague heal, I'm a little worried of getting absolutely clobbered in Arena. Surely there's someone at Blizzard that knows PvP exists and that all these changes will have some sort of impact. Surely. And this is a great segue to talk about the bad parts, the negatives. There's a few and they're pretty bad. There's two really bad ones. One is Misery and second is Void Form. Let's start with Misery. You see right there, replaces Shadow Word Pain. Why? Why do I not have Shadow Word Pain anymore? Now don't get me wrong, I'm also very glad that the PvP talent Catharsis. Oh my god, Catharsis. Thank God it's gone. Please do not bring Catharsis back, but please do bring Shadow Word Pain back. How am I supposed to like tag things, keep myself in combat with enemies, pull random stuff in the open world and old raids and stuff like that? We actually, the only instant spell that we have that we can press on the move is Tentacle Slam, and that's a 15-second recharge timer. So like, what am I supposed to do? Well, let me ask you another question. If the goal is to prune things, why does Shadow Word Pain even exist? Why do you have 2 dots when you press Vampiric Touch? Why not just have Misery say Vampiric Touch now replaces Shadow Word Pain? If you want to go down that route. You know, like, what's the point of the 2 dots? Is it for mastery? Just change the numbers. Is it for all these procs? Just put them all on Vampiric Touch. The idea of having Shadow Word Pain right now is kind of like, why is it even there? You will never have only one of the dots up. You can't have only Shadow Word Pain or only Vampiric Touch. You'll always have both of them. So why even have them split? I'm not sure. If you want to go that route, just get rid of it completely. I wish it just came, I don't know why we're getting rid of it. The fact that it was 2 separate dots and each of them had their own kind of unique procs to them was part of the point. Like, I would, you know, you could just go around and press Shadow Word Pain instantly while you're running on a bunch of targets and then proc Shadowy Insights and kind of get something rolling. But now it's just Tentacle Slam or Hard Casting. I mean, and Shadow Word Pain is an iconic spell. It's the first shadow spell priests ever get. Ever since Classic WoW. I think this is a big mistake. And if you want to prune the class and get rid of some bloat, why not get rid of Shadow Fiend? Shadow Fiend is just so bad. Or Power Infusion and Void Form. Why not have Void Form just be Power Infusion? You know, replaces your Power Infusion with Void Form. A 2-minute cooldown and a 2-minute cooldown. You always press this at the same time. And then Shadow Fiend just sucks. It just doesn't do anything. You know, get rid of that. Now, touching on talents a little bit, I think the Priest spec tree is looking better than what it used to. I feel like there's a clear separation between what's shadow and what's not. There are some talents here that are kind of like lazy talents, you know, like increase stamina by 4%, increase damage by 2%. But I get it. The Priest class tree is more for leveling, and you know, you want to give players something to look forward to, like, oh, when I level up I can finally get that 4%, like that 3% haste and stuff like that. And a lot of classes have this, so I don't think that's necessarily a problem. But there are some talents in here that are kind of like lazy design. Example would be Overwhelming Shadows for Voidweaver, which says Void Torrent deals 50% increased damage. If this was a choice node with something else, then it would make sense, because you'd say, hey, you know, I want to specialize on Void Torrent, or I want to specialize on this other thing. Again, obviously there'll be like cookie cutter talent trees, there's always going to be that. But this on its own, this to me just says, oh, Void Torrent by default doesn't do enough damage. If it's a talent like Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain deal more damage, which is also kind of like a passive, but this is a passive on something you already have from the tree. So that's a bonus for playing Voidweaver. You play Voidweaver, you do more dot damage. But with this is only affecting Void Torrent, which you only get from playing Voidweaver. This talent is just, you just need to make Voidweaver weak on purpose to have the excuse of adding this talent. And it's the same for Archon. I think Archon has something similar. Power Surge lasts an additional 5 seconds, and then Power Surge is something exclusive to Archon, and you always get all the talents. Like, this needs to be on a choice node. Stuff like this needs to be on a choice node. It's not really like the end of the world. It's just, I feel like it's a little off. And then talents that feel bad, I'm looking at Shadow Word Death. Shadow Word Death just does absolutely 0 damage. So all of the Shadow Word Death, I mean, maybe tuning's gonna happen and we're gonna be happy about it. But Shadow Word Death is just like not worth pressing. It's just bad button to press. One last thing I want to mention with talents is Idol of Yasharaj. I don't like a talent that randomly nerfs me. Even though mathematically it might be a DPS increase on paper, in reality, you don't like the human brain, we're loss adverse. When this procs, I don't even notice the haste increase as much as I notice the haste decrease. When I get Yasharaj proc, I just feel bad. And you get Yasharaj proc even if you're not spec'd into it because of this Void Apparition talent here, which says Tentacle Slam has a 100% chance to activate the effect of one of your idols, and this can proc idols you're not spec'd into. So nerfing you randomly just does not feel good at all. Another broken talent right now is Tormented Spirits. Shadow Word Pain has a chance to create apparitions. It doesn't work. Yeah, this talent does not spawn any apparitions. Surely it's gonna get fixed. Surely, right? Surely? Another problem we have is the target capping with Tentacle Slam. 6 targets, you know, it was okay for Shadow Crash when we had Void Bolt to extend duration of dots. We could double Shadow Crash and then we would extend the duration on all 12 targets until we get another Shadow Crash, and then we can add more to that. Like, that wasn't ideal either, but it was working. But now there's no Void Bolt, so you can't extend duration. Even like low cleave, like, look at this. How am I supposed to kill these rats? Am I supposed to spec in the Holy Nova? Is that the only way? No tentacle, no AoE. And that just feels bad. Another thing that is, I don't know, I wasn't sure if I should put this under bad or good, is the stun being removed. I mean, let's be honest. Stun in PvE was not very good. It was like pretty weak, single target, long cooldown, short stun. For PvE, pruning that makes sense. Now for PvP, it's a different story. The reason why Shadow was always at least good, it was never like under B tier, is because of its CC and utility. And the CC was so good for Shadow Priest because of this instant triple DR threat that you could do every 45 seconds. You could either stun a healer into a fear, into a silence, or you could cover your fear with a stun or a silence and stuff like that. You could like triple CC the whole team and then all the utility you bring. Now, not being able to stun someone from range means you can't really guarantee the fear, especially with just the 0 mobility that we have. So that's gonna be a big problem. However, I will admit Shadow Priest CC was way too easy to land and too oppressive. I'm the mage losing Deep Freeze now. I'm going through that phase. It sucks. It really sucks to lose the stun, but I can see why it's maybe not the worst idea. It does require you to play a bit more with the team. It makes it a little harder to land those fears. So I think not having stun, it's gonna, you know, the initial impact, the initial emotion is like, oh my god, this is terrible. And it is a big nerf, but I think we can be fine. As long as the damage is there. If we just lose the tools and the damage stays the same as it is in live, it's not fine. And if anything, losing stun means Void Elf stonks are going through the roof. And just a quick mention for this new PvP talent, Psychic Shroud. It says when your Psychic Scream affects at least one enemy, the next CC on you is prevented. I think this is a bad talent. I think they should rework this one. Priest already has so many tools to get out of and prevent CC, like Fade, Shadow Word Death. You know, you can pre-fear and just run away. You can pre-mind control. There's a lot of tools you have. Let's say this is a priest and I'm walking towards him and I fear him, you know? And he could trinket fear me, but I could fade it. You know, I could expect that to happen. But no, now it's just, oh, I fear him. That's it. No more counterplay. Or if he fears me first, you know, there's no counterplay. I can't like trinket fear him back. Or yeah, anyway, I'm not a big fan of that PvP talent. I think this one should be reworked a little bit. And just another quick notice for PvP talents, because we're talking about them. Mind Trauma. Since we're losing Mindflay Insanity and Void Torrent is only available to Void Weaver, I feel like it's fair to ask for Mind Trauma to get a little bit of a buff, because essentially you're just going to be using like half of it for each spec. But yeah, that's it for PvP talents. And let's get to the big elephant in the room, biggest problem. I said there's 2 problems that I think should really be fixed. One is Misery replacing Shadow Word Pain. The second one is Void Form. Void Form absolutely stinks. It's a casted cooldown that does nothing. You activate Void Form, you look cool, that's it. It gives you access to Void Vault. It gives you access to a new ability every, 15 seconds. And that's it. There's no damage increase. It says increase your spell damage by 10%. That's a lie. It does not. It replaces Shadow Form, which is also 10% damage. So there's no increase in damage in Void Form at all. And it's a cast. Why is it a cast? I think Void Form, it could just replace Power Infusion. I want to be excited when I press Void Form. I want to like be juiced up. Tie Power Infusion to it, so then Ancient Madness actually makes sense. You want to extend the duration of your haste, and that makes more sense. I mean, maybe that's too broken. And yeah, I'm not even mentioning the missing talents here. I don't think there's any other class in the game that has missing talents this late in the beta, but surely that's gonna be something really cool related to Void Form that actually makes Void Form really fun and cool to press. And speaking of Void Form, it's time to get into the ugly part. Now Void Form looks amazing, but imagine how cool it would be to press Void Form and you turn into one of these bad boys. Right? Am I crazy here? It's right there. And while you're at it, you can also add a glyph for Levitate and Power Word Shield. The Levitate, you have it right there in the character select screen. There, I want that one. That's what I want. And then for the Power Word Shield, come on, it's 2D sprite from 2004. You have so many options of cool void looking shields that you can just slap in there. No new assets required. Yes, I did just do the raid just to get this trinket. Our community has been asking for an update on the visuals for Power Word Shield for many expansions now. It is time. And the last thing I wanted to mention is Tentacle Slam. Tentacle Slams being glazed a lot left and right. I'm a kind of a hater. I like the idea a lot. The way it works is good. It's a pet. This is the pet. It needs some more visual polish, or at least make a glyph that changes it to a different pet. We got a lot of tentacles in the game. I don't know, it needs, like, when it erupts, it needs some little VFX when it comes out of the ground or something. When it slams the ground, it needs a bigger bam, a bigger slap, I feel like. But yeah, that's it. And that's my little review for the Midnight patch. I feel like the game's going in the right direction with the reducing of bloat and some soft requirements for some content. I think that's great. Housing is really cool, and can't wait to build it exactly like this. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.